I'm Joyce LeMaster, Associate Professor of English at Morehead State University. Mignon Doran is the friendly, energetic former First Lady of Morehead State University. From 1954 to 1977, as First Lady, she shared her talents and energies with students, faculty, and people throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. She worked hand in hand with her husband, President Adrian Doran, to effectively change a single-purpose college of 600 students into a diversified university with an enrollment numbering more than 8,000. Mignon Doran has dedicated herself to the service of people from all walks of life. She is the founder, first director, Director Emeritus, and consultant to the Personal Development Institute on the Morehead State University campus. She also worked with groups ranging from students in junior high school to the adult population of the region. One of Mrs. Doran's favorite endeavors has been her work with the Newgate Project at the Ashland Federal Youth Center and the Frenchburg Correctional Facility in helping to provide rehabilitation programs for the incarcerated youth. This dynamic lady has sparked enthusiasm and touched the lives of hundreds of individuals during her career. She is a former president of the Kentucky Federation of Women's Clubs and served 10 years as a member of the Governor's Commission on Children and Youth. She was a charter member of the Kentucky Commission on the Status of Women, a former member of the Board of Trustees of Pikeville College, listed in Who's Who in America, in the 1970 edition of Community Leaders of America, and is a member of the International Platform Association. The Kentucky Young Democrats elected Mrs. Doran as the Outstanding Woman Kentuckian of that year, 1971. In May 1972, the Morehead State University Alumni Association honored Mrs. Doran as the first recipient of the University Special Services Award. The former First Lady of Morehead State University worked continuously to strengthen the development of student activities and organizations, including the Beaux Arts Club, the Future Homemakers Association, Delta Kappa Gamma, Sigma Alpha Iota, and Chi Omega. She is the founder of the University Cosmopolitan Club, Queen's Honor Society, the University Women's Club, and the University Younger Women's Club, whose members later changed the name of the organization to the Mignon Doran Women's Club. A dormitory complex has been named by the Board of Regents on the recommendations of the Student Council and the Alumni Association in her honor. The 4 residence halls accommodate 1,100 university women students. Mrs. Doran was selected as an Outstanding Educator of America for 1975. This honor is based on talents in the classroom, contributions to research, administrative abilities, civic service, and professional organizations. Mignon, it is a pleasure to be with you today. You have about 50 years of membership and service in Kentucky women's clubs, all the way from membership in small local clubs to the presidency of the Kentucky Federation. Would you tell us about your initial interest and those early years in the women's club?
It did start a long time ago, Joyce, when I was almost a young bride. Adrian was principal of Wingo High School, and I wanted to be a part of the community and wanted to do what everybody wanted me to do. So the first thing I did was join the Women's Club. However, I've always been a volunteer at heart. So I joined the Wingo Women's Club in 1938. So that's how long I've been a member. That's a long time, isn't it? And I've been active all those years and have enjoyed it. And I've tried to tell my younger women friends there are so many byproducts to belonging to a women's club and to becoming a part of the community in whatever you're doing, whatever your husband's doing, be a part of it. And that's what I've tried to do.
I know that during the time that you were president of the Kentucky Federation, you received many well-deserved accolades for service to the Commonwealth. What were some of the projects that you undertook during that time?
While I was president?
While you were president.
My theme was expanding horizons through quality service, using education as a tool. So of course, my thrust was education. But Joyce, I have always, all my life, have wanted to be better than my before self. So when I was president of the Kentucky Federation, we had many projects in that direction. We had seminars at each of the districts. We have 9 districts in the Federation. And we had a seminar at a college in each of those districts on self-improvement, personal enrichment. And that went real well. And then I think my strength was in the Kentucky Federation was the importance of programming, good programs at the local level and certainly while I was president at the state level. Because I would say to the women, if we want the members to come to the clubs, then we must have something for them when they get there and have programs that are informative, interesting, and entertaining. There's nothing wrong with having a program that's entertaining. So that was my thrust, I guess, as president, was programming and getting women interested in doing things for others and in making their own community better.
You were also involved with the General Federation of Women's Clubs and served on their board of directors.
Well, I served as president of Kentucky Federation from 1962 to 64. And you cannot be a member of the General Federation organization until you, of course, have been, you can't be on the board of the General Federation until you've been a state president. So after I was state president of Kentucky Federation, I served for 4 years at the General Federation level as hostess to speakers, and that was a sugar stick job because you didn't have to do anything except during the conventions. You only went during the conventions, had nothing to do in between. So I got to meet the celebrities and be with them, and it was fun. And I've met so many interesting people in Federation and in being First Lady at Morehead State and living at Morehead 23 years. I loved Morehead. So it was a fun thing, and I think was very helpful to me. I had met some nice people.
Well, during those 23 years that you were a member of the Morehead Women's Club, when Dr. Doran was president of Morehead State University, you brought much prestige to the club by being president of the Kentucky Federation. During your tenure as state president, I know that you attracted many national figures to Kentucky. Would you tell us about some of those people who came to Kentucky during that time?
I will have to think, Joyce, because we did touch the hems of a lot of important people. During that time, I remember I hosted Desi Arnaz, and he was, that Desi was something else, Lucille Ball's husband. Well, I had Desi one day, and Jack Valenti, who was the president and is still president of Motion Pictures of America, I believe is his title. Polly Bergen, these may be too old for some of our young people that may be looking at this film, but Polly Bergen, Anita Bryant, And of course, Marilyn Vanderburg, who was a Miss America, I believe, in 1957. And Marilyn and I became friends through this. And that's another byproduct of it. Marilyn and I still exchange Christmas greetings, and she sent me an announcement when her baby, Jennifer, by the way, the name of your Jennifer, you have a Jennifer, and her daughter's named Jennifer. And so I had Marilyn Vanderburg and Robert Montgomery. Robert Montgomery, I remember him, and I remember a funny little thing that happened the night we had Robert Montgomery. I came in with him, you know, we in the procession, and of course we were off, it was a great fol de rol and quite a soiree. And I was walking alongside of him, and he had on his evening shoes were black patent leather with a big bow. And so, of course, when I walked by, some of the wags, you know, tongue in cheek said some fun things to me about him. But he was nice. I had him one night, and let's see, I'm trying to, of course, of Lady Bird Johnson. We mustn't forget the First Lady that we had Lady Bird, and she was a bird and a nice lady. You remember you had your picture made with her.
Yes.
Well, that was quite exciting. And then at the national level, of course, it went on, and I had, well, Charleston Heston, and let's see.
You had important political figures here
well,
also.
Yes,
Governors of former...
Stuart Udall. Stuart Udall came. He was the Secretary to the Interior under President Johnson. And then, of course, at our own meetings, our governors were most cooperative. And I must say right here that I couldn't have done any of these things had I not had the support of my dear husband, Adrian Doran. He supported me all the way, just as the Moorhead Women's Club did. I never would have done any of these things if it hadn't started with the Moorhead Women's Club and Moorhead State University. So that's how I got to do these things. Let's see, I'm trying to think of some, the political figures. Frank Clement came. He was the governor of Tennessee. Of course, Adrian didn't hurt any in helping me get some of those speakers. And then Cecil Underwood, governor of West Virginia, came. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Jr., and our own John Sherman Cooper was so good. He and Lorraine came to several of our meetings. And, I could go on and on, take all of our time, but it was nice. And I keep telling our young women that it comes back to you. You make friends, make a hobby of making friends and growing, and you grow as long as you live. You know, you never arrive. And I hope I'm still growing and going, and I am, and I'm thankful for it because we've been around a long time, and God's been good to us.
One of the projects which you initiated and developed on the Moorhead State University campus during those 23 years of Dr. Doran's presidency was the Personal Development Institute. You not only developed the course for the classroom, but you also presented the course on Kentucky Educational Television. You also put your own textbook together, writing much of the material yourself. This course was a favorite on campus, and you were one of MSU's most popular professors. Would you relate to us some of the experiences of your PDI course?
PDI. Well, PDI started with me, Joyce, really when I was a little girl. I grew up in a small village, went to high school, to a good high school, but it was not a city school. And I was about the only one in that school that played the piano. And I played for commencement and played for the programs for in the elementary grades. They had an operetta every year, and I played for that. And I worked with children, and in that you were working to make them do this a little bit better. Let's do this over. Let's not say can't, let's say can't. And when I was a teenager, I was more like a little teacher. And I think I got wanted to be that back even then. And as time went on, when we were at Wingo, I had a little charm club, and at my homeroom period, I would use my homeroom period to teach the boys and girls good manners and please and thank you and I'm sorry and how to eat. And I remember I was getting ready, training talking to the juniors about the junior senior banquet. And one of the boys who's quite successful now and very wealthy came to me and said, Mrs. Doran said, I'm scared to go to this banquet, said, how much of that green stuff do you eat on the plate? And all of those things made me know that young people do have fears. And out of that PD, I started not just manners, but what am I in totality? Holistic education. And I felt that this thing about personal development was an ingredient that had been left out of the curriculum that was very, very needed. And so that's why, as I say, it started with me a long time ago. And now if I can't stay on PDI always, I'd like to, but you're a PDI gal, and I can see so many of my students that are high achievers now, and they make me feel good by saying, well, hey, look, Miss D, that helped me. And I had a call from one of our students, and you'd know him if I'd call his name, from Washington not too long ago. He'd gotten a promotion. And he said, Mrs. Doran, I've called to thank you for something. I said, thank me. And what had happened, out of about 80 applicants, it narrowed down to 5, and he had gotten this promotion. And he said, I've called to thank you. And he is in a very high place now at the Pentagon. And he said to me, it narrowed down to 5. And the person said to him, after he got top place, said, young man, said, I guess you know those other 4 young men out there have credentials as good as yours. But said, you beat them out in your interview, and said, you must have had, it sounds like presumptuous to say this, but he said, you must have had a good teacher somewhere. And he was nice enough to say, I did, and I'm going to call her. And he won. He beat the others because he knew how to effectively conduct himself in an interview. Yes. Now, that's, of course, that's just one of a million stories. And we have so many high achievers from Morehead State. And I still say they got a good education, and we're not ashamed of what we've done through the years. And it's not been all bad. And we had good teaching. Mm-hmm. And we have proof of the pudding when we see high achievers like you and like others.
One of the projects that you created and initiated during your years at Morehead was the Fine Arts Trio. The concept is a unique one. What stimulated this idea in your mind?
Well, there again, I say it's presumptuous of me to say that you originate anything, because nothing is really, I guess, original. But I had never heard, or I had never seen a Fine Arts Trio. I have always been materially interested in the arts, especially music and art and literature. Well, you were a charter member of the Fine Arts Trio because you, from the time you were a freshman in the college then, and then we later became a university, I always had you to do the introductions for people because you were talented in that field, and you've gone on to prove it. So I just thought, well, why couldn't we put something together in literature and art and music and make a unit out of it? And of course it started with you, and I think I played in the beginning till I could get Lucretia, because she was so much better than I was. And then we went to Chicago. I took you to Chicago to a national meeting, and it's gone. I'm very proud of that, and I'm glad you are continuing to do that. Fine Arts Trio is sort of unique, isn't it? You all have made it unique.
It is very unique. So many people have asked about the idea, where it originated. And we're always so proud to say that you were the one who had that idea. People say over and over, I have never seen this done before. Well, I'm glad you thought of that.
Well, as I say, nothing is original, but I had never seen a Fine Arts Trio, and I had never heard one. But I wonder now, I'm sort of disappointed that hasn't caught fire and more people have not done that. Of course, they won't do as well as you have. But it's a sweet thing, and I'm glad that you are making people remember that I did have a part in it. That's nice.
Mignon, I know a recent interest of yours is historic preservation. You're on the board of directors of the Historic Mansion Preservation, and within the last few months have chaired a gala honoring Beulah Nunn, who is the wife of former Governor Louis Nunn, and who is also a member of the board. Would you tell us about that?
That was a very interesting experience, Joyce, and one that I'm so humbled by being a part of. When Governor Nunn was governor, Beulah inaugurated this program, or this commission, and I am a charter member, and I continue to be of the commission. And what she did for Kentucky is, her story will never be completely told. We, and I say we, she did it, but we helped her, renovated and restored Mary Todd Lincoln House here in Lexington, Cassius Clay Home, Whitehall in Richmond, and Beulah started this Kentucky Mansions Preservation Foundation. It's kind of hard to say. And she has been chairman of it all these years. Now, Governor Nunn was governor in the late 60s and early 70s. And she started it then, but it's continued. And now, her daughter is the president. Jenny is the president of the foundation, and I'm vice president of the foundation. And we're still trying to keep Mary Todd Lincoln House in shape, and Whitehall, and others things that Beulah absolutely started. She named the first commission, first board, and had to have so many Republicans and so many Democrats, and I was a Democratic representative, and I've always been so pleased that I have been on the board all this many years, and it's still going, and Mrs. Nunn is still she still helps us with it, and that's her love, you know, and that was a great thing for Kentucky, and I hope one of these days when you'll have time to belong to that. It's enjoyable. We meet once a year, but the board meets at intervals, you know. Helen Evans serves on the board with me. She's a past Kentucky Federation president, too. It's an interesting board, and it's just another little wing, another little limb on your tree, you know, and meet different circles of friends, and that's important, too, that I try to tell the women. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, make your tree have as many limbs as possible and have a deep shade, because nobody wants to go to an old tree that the leaves are all falling off. So that's kind of the way it is.
I would like to ask you, too, going back to the Kentucky Federation for a moment, how do you see the status of the Kentucky Federation of Women's Clubs now as compared to the 60s when you were president?
Well, now, Josh, you know everything, honey, the last 28 years. Would that be 28 years? I don't know a third of $1.50. I'm a musician. But I think it's 64 would have been 27 or 28 years. That's inconsequential. But things have changed. The way I did things and the way we did things would not maybe work now. But I have faith in the Kentucky Federation of Women's Club. I have faith in the General Federation of Women's Club. And it's going to continue to go. It's a vibrant organization, and I think they're working hard. I know the Moorhead Club's working hard. If every club in the state was working as hard as the Moorhead Women's Club, we would really be going. And I still have faith in the Federation, in the Kentucky Federation, and in the General Federation, and it will go, because a communities cannot live without women's clubs. You can go in a little town anywhere in Kentucky right now and tell whether or not there's a women's club there, by the way the streets look, and it's going to live. No, it's not the way it was, and maybe that's good, but it's a different day, different needs, different people. And I will say that it's pretty hard now to get volunteers, because there are more people lollygag around and don't want to work. But you have to be a volunteer at heart to really make the club go. And it's going, and it will continue to go. As I say, of course, we all think our day was greatest, you know, but it's great now. It was great then, and I'll say one thing. The Kentucky Federation, I'm sure my benefits were greater than my contributions, maybe in everything I've done. I know I've had great benefits, and I've enjoyed it all. I've enjoyed each cycle of my life. We're enjoying right now. I'm not concerned and with useless longings of wishing I could be doing what I did. I could do what I did, but I'm doing what I can, and I'm enjoying it, and I think that's what life's all about. Do what you can do, when you can, and where you can, and that's what I'm doing.
That's a wonderful philosophy. I know that you are a member of the Church of Christ and that you and Dr. Doran started the Church of Christ in Moorhead. I know, too, that you are presently very, very active in the church. Would you tell us about your present involvement?
Well, of course, Adrian and I had a lot of help in beginning the church in Moorhead, and we certainly didn't do it by ourselves. We had some fine help, but that was another thing that we did that we are proud that we did, and appreciate the ones that helped us do that. We're still busy with our church. We are members of the North Lexington Church of Christ here in Lexington, and Adrian is particularly busy. He does lots of teaching and lecturing, and I still do programs for ladies. We call them Ladies Inspiration Days, and I do quite a bit of that, and that's PDI. PDI has to start with a value system, a believing in God system. You want to be better. I want to be a better person. So, and then I do lectures at our church-related schools. Maybe I'll do a week at a time on just on what we're talking about, how to be a better me, or you can make a difference, and are you making a difference? Yes, we're enjoying it. Adrian is very, very busy. He's writing. He's written some biographies on the restoration characters, and he's very busy, and it keeps me busy, keeping him starched up and ready to go.
Thank you, Mignon, for sharing with us some insightful memories and recollections. Mignon Doran's life is one of service to others. She has a sincere regard and dedication to making life better for other people. Her influence, her equipoise, and her charming warmth and wisdom do indeed make the world a better place.